Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. This is our Preparing for the Oklahoma Arts Sector ARPA grant session. So I hope you all have had a great time at our conference so far. And I know that ARPA is a big thing on all of our minds. So we're so excited to be here with our ARPA coalition to talk to you all about this grant, what you need to do in order to get registered and start applying for this really big pool of funding. So without further ado, I will get us started. Just so you all know what we will be covering today, we're going to do some brief introductions and we'll just dive right in to tell you more about the program. If you were unable to attend our webinar from a few months ago, we'll rehash the information and provide some updates on the program, what the ARPA program is, who can apply. We'll go through a timeline so you all know what to expect and what to prepare in the coming months. And then we'll talk about expenses and what this grant funding will be for. And we'll dive into more detail on how to apply. We'll take a look at the eligibility verification process if you're still working on that right now. And we'll talk about the application and what you'll need to prepare in order to submit a successful application. After that, we'll go through some frequently asked questions, and then we'll talk about the information station and the office hours that we'll have coming up. So if you all have your phones and if you all have some questions, if you want to submit that to us, this is the primary way that we will be taking questions through a survey. So scan the QR code with your phone. Feel free to step up if you can't see it from the back of the room and scan the code, submit your question. This is really for general questions that we can answer up here during this panel today. But if you have more specific questions, maybe relating to your organization or specific questions about what you would like funded, we definitely will be able to take those questions at our information station today that will be right outside of these doors, or you can attend some of our office hours that we'll talk about as well. So I'll do some brief introductions and I'll kick it off with Chandra Boyd.
All right, good morning, everyone. So good to see you all. I'm Chandra Boyd. I'm the Deputy Director for the Oklahoma Arts Council.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jennifer Bryan, and I am the Campaign and Grants Director for Allied Arts in Oklahoma City.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jenny Ann Roig, and I am the Communications Manager for Allied Arts in Oklahoma City.
Yay, yay. Hi, I'm Chad Oliverson. I'm Marketing Director and Director of Community Partnerships with Arts Alliance Tulsa.
All right, and I'm Thomas Strand, the Grants Director at Oklahoma Arts Council, and I want to give a shout out to Martina Sandoval, the audience. She's our Grants and Programs Associate, and we're your ARPA Grants team. So we're very excited to be here with you all today and go through this information. So I'll hand it off to Chandra.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, so we'll just do a quick program overview. A lot of you are familiar with this information, but I thought it might be good to do a quick recap. Earlier this year, the legislature awarded $10 million of the state's $1.8 billion in Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds to the Oklahoma Arts Council. As the state is strategically investing these funds for the long-term recovery and growth of our state, a focus on the arts and the creative economy, it just makes sense. It aligns really perfectly with the state strategies. So this small investment, $10 million in the statewide arts and cultural sector, represents a first step in really helping to restore access to creative endeavors, build lasting legacies by employing local artists and arts professionals, stimulate rural and urban economies, and empower arts and cultural organizations to rebuild long-term and to strengthen cultural tourism. The Oklahoma Arts Sector ARPA grant program provides historic, once-in-a-lifetime funding to really boost the arts and cultural nonprofit sector, which was disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. So here you see some highlights of specifically what we're aiming to do with these funds. We want to address that disproportionate impact of the pandemic on our sector. We want to invest in job recovery and support workforce development and retention. And we want to empower organizations to restore and broaden their services to the community. And we want to provide for the transformation of critical assets to realize an enduring vision for the sector. And finally, we want to ensure a robust arts sector that flourishes in communities across the state for generations of Oklahomans to come. All right, so I'll talk a little bit about who can apply. So the legislature was very specific that these funds go to address the negative economic impacts of the pandemic and provide assistance to impacted nonprofit organizations. Per our grant guidelines, nonprofits must offer programming that is dedicated to artistic disciplines in service and benefit to the community to be eligible. This includes local arts councils that might be coordinating monthly art walks in their cultural districts, community theaters that are staging productions for local audiences, social or community service organizations that integrate the arts into their public programs, historical societies that are presenting community concert series, and museums that are showcasing the work of artists, among others. Organizations must have a minimum operating budget of $10,000, and this is the overall budget, not just the budget that is for the arts. So your overall operating budget, a minimum of $10,000. And our full grant program guidelines can be found on our website at arts.ok.gov. So as part of the eligibility verification process, applicant organizations are required to meet all of the following criteria. So the nonprofits had to exist on or before February 15th, 2020. They must be based in Oklahoma and incorporated with the state of Oklahoma as a domestic, not-for-profit corporation. Organizations must be in good standing with both the IRS and the state of Oklahoma, be registered with that UEI, and be eligible to receive federal support. Nonprofits, as I stated earlier, must offer programming that's dedicated to artistic disciplines and/or service to the benefit of the community, and that minimum operating budget of $10,000. All right, I'm going to hand it back to Thomas.
All right, thank you, Chandra. And just so you all know that we will post a link to these slides on our ARPA webpage on our website. And we'll have more information posted there as well about our sessions that we'll mention later. I'll go through a brief timeline to show you all where we're headed from here and what to expect in the coming months. So right now we're at the Oklahoma Arts Conference sessions, October 19th, and you're at the preparing for the grant session right now. Later today at 11:30, we will start our information session that will be occurring right outside of these doors, where you can come up and ask your questions and chat with this panel right here about any questions you have or anything you want to discuss relating to ARPA. Starting November, well, let me back up. Our eligibility verification period is open right now. So if you haven't already, all organizations, as Chandra mentioned, need to submit their eligibility paperwork for us to review. And that's open right now, and it's open through October 31st. So please do not wait until October 30th or 31st, and please work on your eligibility verification and gather your required documents to submit, because it does take time to review them, and we may have additional questions for you, or we may need additional documents. So as soon as you can, please log on and get registered, and also upload those documents. The last day to submit those eligibility documents is October the 31st. Starting November 1st, our application period will open. So if your organization is determined to be eligible and your status is verified, you'll get access to the grant application through the Flux grant system, and you can log on and start your application there. So the application period opens November 1st of this year, and it will close December 15th at 5:00 p.m. So also, please do not wait until the last day for that, because we are going to be receiving hundreds of applications, and we just want to make sure that the system is up and running for you all, the full duration. So please allow sufficient time in the event that something happens, if the system is down. Just please get started. So after December and late January and February is when grant recipients will be notified. So when that time comes, we'll send out our email notifications where your organization's contacts will get information on how to move forward with the grant offer. We'll have an award management webinar available to you so you know what to do from that point, and then we'll start our post-award process of having the contracts and all the other requirements that you'll need in order to manage your grant. The grant activity period will last through December 2026 per the ARPA guidelines and the ARPA bill. And during this grant period too, there will be some required reporting audits and reporting information that we'll collect during any time during this period. So you're stuck with us until the end of that time period. All right, so what expenses are eligible? So funding from this ARPA grant will consist of one or both of the following pathways. If your organization is qualified for negative financial impact funds, then that is one avenue, and the other is for ongoing or new allowable expenses, which include any new or existing programs or projects. So what negative financial impact is, it's to help restore the disproportionate impacts that the arts sector went through during the pandemic. So this is either revenue loss or expenses increase. So these award amounts for the negative financial impact will be based on your reported financials that we'll dive into a little bit later in the presentation, but we will ask questions about this, and based on your information that was provided, we'll see if you are eligible for a financial impact funding. And all of these grant funds, if you do receive negative financial impact funds, these grant funds will need to be expended under the ARPA grant terms and conditions. The other avenue of funding is for ongoing and new allowable expenses, which is ongoing or new projects or programs that you may have. So a portion of your grant award may be allocated towards these new or ongoing expenses, and you may request for funding in these areas that you see on the screen. If it's a little small, again, you can see all this information in our grant program guidelines on the website. So examples include salary and benefits, any fees or stipends for artists or contracted personnel to support artistic programs, organizational expenses, general operating expenses, any capital upgrades to your facilities. You can apply for that, as well as organizational development expenses, marketing and promotional, or development of new or expanded arts programming. So it really covers a broad range of different offerings that your organization may provide or have, and it's really meant to fill a need for your organization, and not only in recovering from the pandemic, but also where you go from here to move forward and build, and also build your programming for your community. So this is a lot more flexible than it may look, and we'll go through some of those questions that you'll see related to these later. All right, so how to apply? It's a numerous step process. So right now, as we talked about, we're already going through the eligibility verification process. So you can create a user account through our website, through the Flux website, and you'll be able to upload your organization documents. Once you do that, we will review those documents, and if your organization is verified, you'll get access to the grant application starting on November the 1st. That application period will close December the 15th at 5:00 p.m. Central Time, and grant recipients will be notified about their awards late January through February 2024. So that's just a quick snapshot of important dates. I'll hand it off to Chandra to talk a little bit more about the eligibility verification.
Thanks, Thomas. So as Thomas mentioned, this is kind of the period we're in right now in October. We're going through the process of verifying the organization's eligibility for the application. So one thing that we did, just to give you a little behind the scenes at the Oklahoma Arts Council, so we have migrated your organization's data from our existing grant system to the new Flux portal, and that's the system that we're using for these ARPA funds. So that's why there is a new process right now. And it is a two-step process. So as organizations are going through, you as an individual, you're going to log into Flux, you're going to create an account. Once we get that information, we're pairing you with our system. And so we're registering you and pairing you with your organization in our system. So then you'll receive a notification that you need to log back in and upload those supporting documents for your organization. And that's so that we just have good data in our system. We've migrated you. A lot of you have been in our system for decades. So it's good to just have, kind of clean information, your current contact information, because I know you've had a lot of turnover with your organizations. So please be patient with us. I was visiting with someone earlier. We probably have 100 and some registrations currently in the queue to review. And then I know I have about 20 organizations that I'm reviewing eligibility for. So it's me and Martina. And so we are only two people, so please be patient with us, but we are working to expedite those reviews very quickly. So that's why Thomas said, please don't wait till October 31st, because what that does for you is it really delays your access to the application. You can certainly do it on October 31st, but you might not get access to that application until maybe November 10th or 15th. So we really want to kind of get all of that information in, and we're going through it as quickly as we can. So speaking to the eligibility process, I will say, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the system is very user-friendly. I would say compared to our other grant system, Flex, and we're still troubleshooting, but I would say it's very user-friendly. You are able to go in, it's very self-service. You can upload your documents, you can change your documents, you can change your information. And so you just have to fill out some information for your organization, and then you have to upload 5 documents. So one of those is your IRS 501c3 determination letter. That helps to tell us when you were established as a 501c3, so we can make sure that you're verified per the ARPA guidelines. We also ask for your most recent IRS Form 990. We ask for your Oklahoma State of Oklahoma Certificate of Incorporation. And then the articles of incorporation, I will share, and there's a lot of confusion about this. The state doesn't use the word articles anymore. All these are is the filing documents that you complete when you're getting your certificate of incorporation. Back in the day, several decades ago, they were actually called articles, and a lot of your documents say articles. Now it might just say certificate of filing or something like that. So that's what we're looking for. That's the document that includes your incorporators and is either digitally signed or actually has a hard copy signature. I've seen some really old school certificates come through the system recently, so that's been a lot of fun. And then your bylaws. And I will say for some organizations, you're probably getting a prompt from me. I don't know why, since bylaws is the last document. For some reason on the screen, that is one of the things that is kind of frequently missed by organizations that are filling out their paperwork. So you might get a little prompt from me that we are missing your bylaws. You can just log back in and upload those documents. It's very easy to take care of that. So all of these documents are being used for us to really look at your organization, look at your mission and purpose, look at when you were established as a 501c3 nonprofit, and just make sure, again, that you're in good standing with the IRS and the state of Oklahoma.
All right, thank you, Chandra. And during this eligibility verification period, if you have any questions right now or moving forward, again, we have the information station that will be available starting at 11 outside the doors, and then we'll also have some opportunities for you to connect with us online through Zoom if you have questions during our office hours. So there's still some time left for you to complete that eligibility verification period. And then that will move into the next phase of the ARPA grant, which is the application. So again, the application period will be open November 1st for organizations that have verified eligibility status in our grant system. The application period is November 1st and will close December 15th at 5:00 p.m. And the application will consist of 5 different sections. We'll look at some pandemic impact narratives, organization and programming impact. We'll look at your financial impacts that the pandemic had, and then we'll look at what you want to apply for any new or ongoing projects or programs through the allowable expenses. The last part is uploading some supporting documents that are required. So to dive into the application, I'm going to hand it off to Jenny Ann.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so we really want to start with the storytelling piece of everything. So how did the pandemic impact your organization? So you'll provide detailed narratives to describe your organization, its arts programming, service to communities, and the impact of the pandemic. Examples of questions will include describe your organization's art programming in detail. That will include information such as how you provide services to your community. Who is your organization's primary audience, and what steps are you taking to ensure they are part of your organization's art programming? Do you provide direct arts programming in census-tract areas, rural or under-resourced communities? If so, please indicate the areas you serve and provide a description of the programming you provide. How has the pandemic adversely impacted your organization's ability to deliver arts programming? So we really want to know if there are lost jobs, or right now are your audiences not fully engaged like they were before the pandemic? Was your branding impacted? Things of that nature. We want to know how the pandemic impacted your organization. And now I'm going to send it to Jennifer.
So in addition and beyond the storytelling and the impact on your financials, the application is going to include questions on the pandemic's negative impact on your operations and administration. So some examples of questions you'll see on the application are the number of staff that your organization had in 19, 20, 21, 22, full-time, part-time, contracted artists, the number of staff furloughed or laid off during that time span, the number of individuals your organization served from 19 to 22, separate, include youth and include adults. Number of contract canceled during the period, vendors, artists, contracts, number of events, fundraising events or programming events, actual programs, fundraisers that your organization canceled 19 to 22. If you're a museum, think about the number of memberships that you had during that time span. If you're performing arts, the number of season ticket subscribers that you lost or gained from 19 to 22, and then also number of sponsors. Sponsors for events, sponsors for festivals, or sponsors for programming, 19 to 22. So this is really important, many of us already have all this information. If you, we were in survey mode in the heart of the pandemic, so a lot of these questions were already asked. Also, if you received any ARPA or other relief aid, these are questions that were likely asked in those applications as well. And so if maybe you came out better during the pandemic, and so you're not able to demonstrate a financial impact, this is another way to demonstrate the negative impact on your organization.
I think I'll pick it up here with the financial impact. So remember, you all have these numbers. I'm willing to bet all of you have done grants within the last year, so you have a lot of this ready. But what we want you to really think about when we're talking about this from 19 to 22 are the breakdowns, of course. I do want to point this out. Arts operating budget and full operating budget. You're like, but wait a minute, my full operating budget is my arts budget. Don't worry. On the application, it's separated like that because there are organizations that will apply that arts is not their primary focus. And that's the button they'll press. You're overall, if you're arts, you're fine. It'll take you to the right place. Actual earned revenue, we know what that is. I don't have to read that to you. You have those numbers. Same with the contributed revenue and the actual expenses. I do want to point out that on contributed revenue, it's okay if your numbers through maybe a PPP or an ARPA or another grant are high. Some of us, to be honest, did okay during the pandemic financially. Does not mean we weren't harmed in other ways. So there are other avenues. We want to stress that so we don't stress you out, because this is something we really want you to apply for and feel comfortable doing. There are other avenues. Please be specific and please get all those numbers on there. We do need those for data, and we do need to know where everyone's standing in the state of Oklahoma. And that's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. So one thing I will mention as well is we know who you all are and the work that you do and the impact that you have on the community. And we know that when you fill out the application, there's things that you may have provided to us before, the numbers, the stories, and all that. But please keep in mind that the panel that reviews these applications, they may not know who you are. They may not have heard of your organization or the awesome work that you do and how important it is. So please be sure when you're filling out these applications to really present as much information as you can within the character limits, but really tell us who you are and what you do, and make sure that you paint a great picture about your work, your impact, and how the pandemic impacted you all, because the people reviewing these applications may not know. All right, let's look at ongoing and new allowable expenses. So this section of the application is looking at if you are applying for funding to support any new programs or any existing programs or projects. So if your organization is interested in this, then this is there will be a section where you complete these questions. Examples of these questions, all these questions are really related to the sections that we outlined earlier in the different expense allowables. So questions may include what grant amount are you requesting to support your funding areas? Describe in detail how you'll use these ARPA grant funds to support your organization and how they'll serve or benefit the broader community. What's the general timeline of your capital project if you're applying for a capital project? If you're applying for other things, provide specific goals and objectives, your plan for implementation, and how they'll support the growth and sustainability of your organization. What's your anticipated number of new programs that you'll create with these ARPA funds? And how many anticipated new full-time staff position will you create with these ARPA funds? Again, this is just a random question bank, but the questions really be determined by the pools of money that you select during this application phase. And in addition, the last section of the application is uploading your required supporting documents. So example of those documents may include your IRS 990s or EZs from 2019 through 2022, your detailed expenses and revenue from those years, any project budgets for any programming that you apply for, and the signed ARPA grant terms and conditions, attestations, and addendums. So these will be required for you to upload at the end. Looking at the estimated grant amounts. So this table is also found in the grant program guidelines. This shows you what you could be eligible for in your maximum grant request. So taking a look, I know the text might be a little small at the end of the room there, but we're going to look at your average arts operating budget from 2020 to 2022. So this information will be collected and calculated from the budget numbers that you provide in the application. So looking at that, we'll be able to determine your average arts operating budget, and from there, I'll just throw out an example. Let's say your average operating budget for the arts is $260,000. So if you go through the screen right there, you'll see that your estimated grant award is approximately $60,000, pending a lot of different factors, but let's just say that's your estimate. You could request up to $120,000. That's your maximum grant request, and please keep in mind that applicants may request up to that amount, but we may not award at that amount. You do have the capability of going up to that number and just showing need or showing what new projects you could do with that money. Again, this process is all up to the panel, the number of applications that come in, what's eligible and what's not. So these grant amounts really cannot be determined until all the applications have come in and we are able to review every single application. But this table just gives you an idea about where things might fall and what you can do within your application. And some important dates, if you are awarded ARPA funding through this grant, that you will need to have all your funds obligated and encumbered, which means you'll need to know what you're spending each dollar on by December 31st, 2024, and you will need to expend all funds by December 31st, 2026. All unspent funding will need to be returned to the federal government. All right. So that kind of concludes our application preview for you all. Again, we are still working on these application questions, and it is we are developing it, and it will be ready for you starting November 1st. So there may be changes, there may be additions, but this gives you an idea of what you need to prepare and get in line in order to be ready for that application period to open up. All right, so we will go over to some frequently asked questions. So throughout this process so far, you all have sent us some really great questions through email, through phone, and so we've gathered some of those together today. So Chandra and I will be going through some of those questions right now. One question is, what types of artistic disciplines can be supported through this grant?
All right, so glad you asked, Thomas. So the Oklahoma Arts Council uses artistic quality as one of its review criteria for grants. Artistic disciplines include, but are not limited to, music, theater, dance, literary arts, media arts, visual, and public art. So if you have questions about the eligibility of your project, just please reach out to our grants office.
Thank you. All right, my organization is currently experiencing or currently receiving funding from Oklahoma Arts Council grants or from Allied Arts and OKC and Arts Alliance Tulsa. Do I need to create a new account in the Flux system and complete the verification process?
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, we have migrated data and we have a lot of new organizations applying. So we are using the Flux grant portal for ARPA grants. And so we are asking that everyone go into that system, register as a new user, and create an account that we link to your organizational account. And that's the place, as I mentioned, that you'll submit all your organizational documents and information for eligibility verification. And then once verified, you get a really fancy green verified button on your organizational profile. And those organizations that are verified will be eligible to submit an application for the Oklahoma Arts Sector ARPA grant.
I have a question. How long does it take once you register then to get the green button?
To get the green button, we just ask for up to 15 days. So there's a process of registration and connecting with your organizational data. That's the part Martina does. And then once that comes back to you all, and it takes some time. I've noticed some of you are in the queue right now. I'm sure you're trying to run down some of that information with your organization. Once it gets to me, I'm usually able to turn it around in just a few days. But again, I have a queue right now of about 20 organizations. So we give a window of about 15 days to complete that process. Good question.
All right, my organization is, we want to expand our art walk, and we want to provide more opportunities and have a new sound system, purchase maybe some instruments for people to perform with. Can I use ARPA funds to support that?
Yes, you can.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to make it easy.
I need to update my organization's primary contact or authorizing official. How do I do that?
So in the past, you would contact our grants office. One of the great things about this new system is you are able to go in and do that as well. It is the self-service system. But guess what? We're always here to help you. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to our grants office, and we'll support you through that process.
All right, so those were our frequently asked questions, and I'll turn it over right now and see if you all have, if we have any questions that have been submitted through the QR code survey. So Martina, have we received any questions so far?
Hello. Yes. Okay, we have received a few questions that I will read. Can schools apply?
All right, so I will answer that question. So schools actually are not eligible. As I said, the legislature was very specific that this has to support nonprofit organizations across the state. Since schools serve a student body that is a closed body, these funds really are, they're public funds, and they really are to be to the benefit of the full community and to serve the public.
Okay, next question. It says there is a $250,000 max for capital expenses, but then there's also a max range an organization can request based on income. It disappeared for a second, excuse me. If an organization's budget only allows them to apply for $60,000, can that be increased if seeking capital expenses?
So, great question. I would follow the maximum grant request amount that's listed in that table. So don't limit yourself. Again, we have the estimated award there, but there may be more funds to give out. So really, if you want to request more, you can request up to that maximum amount. If you're looking at capital expenditures, that cap cannot be moved. So you can request up to that $250,000 cap. If your maximum request is greater than that, then you can double down, or you can select numerous different pools of money. So in addition to your $250,000 of capital expenditures, you can apply for another $100,000 in salaries increase, or another $250,000 in a different area. But for capital expenditures, $250,000 is the cap for that project. And in addition to that, for capital expenditures, there are additional questions and information that we will need you to provide that will be in the application, which includes a full budget, timeline, stuff like that.
Okay. Is there a rubric that can be shared on how the grants will be scored?
Also a great question. Again, the application, our rubric and all that is still being developed. So check the website and we'll provide all of the updates on that ARPA webpage.
Awards are based on annual budget sizes. Is that previous year's budget or 2024's budget? Our fiscal year is on the calendar year.
That is a great question. So we will go off of your organization's fiscal year, and the budget, the 3-year average that we'll look at to determine your kind of where you fall within that organizational budget band is going to be determined on an average of 2020 through 2022, and we'll calculate that based on the financial information that you provide in the application.
How will the grants during the period be administered? Will they be distributed on a timetable similar? Sorry, every time a question is submitted, it loads, so I can't see the question. Will they be distributed on a timetable similar to the organizational support program, mid-year, end of fiscal year?
So we will be issuing payments all at once, sometime in early 2024, after the award notifications go out. That's when our payments will go out as well. So you'll receive more information about that as we continue to develop the program. But even though that you'll be receiving the payment up front, there will be reporting requirements and important dates and timelines to abide by throughout the life of the award.
Is the review panel from OAC or from outside OAC?
It will include many parties, including our full ARPA coalition that you see on the stage, as well as members from other government offices as well.
If you apply for both financial impact and CAP campaign, is the grant award limit for total award or for each application?
It is the total award that you receive.
Keeps loading. Okay.
All right, and while we're waiting there, just so you know, if you submitted a question and we're not reading them off right now, this is for pretty general questions. If you have a specific question that's really related to like details about your organization or any other projects, and they don't get answered on the stage, please feel free to visit us at our information station.
Okay, I have one more. Can we request funding to help with new replacement staff positions if they were already recently hired, or would they need to be hired after the award has been received?
Great question. So yes, your funding can be used to fill in the gap and also to backdate up to, we'll provide dates in your contract, but yes, you can use the funding to fill in any positions that currently exist or new positions that you create.
And a similar question, are capital improvements or expenditures done in the last 2 years eligible for this grant?
That is a great question that we'll have to do some follow-up on, but we will provide some clear guidelines and requirements. Capital expenditures are kind of a special field of funding that we have additional steps and information that we need to gather. So that one's a little tricky, but we will be sure to provide sufficient information to you all so that you can apply.
We are an attendance-based facility that was closed for a portion of 2020-2022. Can we use a projected estimated loss of revenue?
Can you repeat that question?
We are an attendance-based facility that was closed a portion of 2020-2022. Can we use a projected or estimated loss of revenue?
Let's, if you want to, if you submitted that question, let's have a chat at the ARPA information station. We might have to talk a little bit more and get some more details about that.
What do you think the success rate of this grant will be?
150%. No, so again, these ARPA funds are really to support the sector in all the things that happened in the past few years, as well as helping all of us rebuild our work in our communities in the coming years. So we want you all to succeed, and we want you all to get this funding. The only thing is that we have requirements that we need to make, federal and state requirements as well. So we will process and go forward with this grant program and try to provide you with as much assistance and support as possible to be successful.
Will decisions on amounts be determined on first come, first served? Can one organization get in early and gobble up all the available funds?
It is not first come, first served. So as long as you submit your application by the deadline, again, don't wait until the deadline, but submit your application during the application period, and we will review it, and there will be a panel that reviews all applications. So it is not first come, first served.
Okay, it looks like the other submitted questions are very specific to your organization situation, so I think it would be best if you could come by our information station after we're done here.
Okay, all right, thank you all. So in the time that we have left, I know that not everyone may have had the chance to scan the code or get up close enough and use your phone. So are there any other general questions that we can answer right now during this time?
Or is it funding for each year?
It's one amount. So the awards that we issue in 2024 will last the whole award period. You're welcome. I didn't read the question again for the room. The question was, is the funding that will be awarded just year-by-year basis, or is it one award through 2026? And it is one award through 2026.
You mentioned two basic areas being negative financial impacts and ongoing or new expenses. Do you anticipate there being any preference between those two?
Great question, thank you. So yes, we will try to expend as many funds to the negative financial impact as much as possible if your organization is eligible for that pool of funding, because that is our most flexible pool of funding, and there's less reporting that's tied to that pool. So we'll max out your award at that pool, and then we'll move to the new or existing projects.
So you can apply to both at the same time?
Correct.
I kind of know the answer, but I've been asked. The slides from today, they're going to be on the conference website. Is that what you said?
They will be on the ARPA webpage at arts.ok.gov.
If you're an organization that started after February 15th, could you partner with an organization that existed pre-pandemic as a fiscal sponsor to apply for the funds?
Unfortunately, the way the funding has been approved in the bill, fiscal sponsors are not eligible through this grant program. Martina's getting her steps in today.
So somebody on that side of the room needs to raise their hand next. Okay, yeah, in fact, actually, there you go. We got it. All right, so I've seen this question was answered earlier, and then somebody else had a similar question. So I just want kind of clarification that if you're applying for a grant, and let's say you want, capital improvement plus new programming plus negative impact, all of it is one grant, or is it multiple? And can you submit multiple, or is it just it's one and it's all in one?
It's all in one. Again, you are correct. You can apply under different areas. You can select different areas and have different amounts for each one, but it is just going to be one grant. There may be stipulations when the amount, your total grant award comes out. We may direct $10,000 towards one item and $20,000 towards another, but it is issued as one award, and it's one grant application.
And then that total is the total that goes off of that calculation?
Correct,
Perfect.
correct.
Thank you so much for that clarification.
Martina, you gotta go all the way over.
All the way across the room.
This is a very large room.
Hello, I have a question on the negative financial impact, and when you went through it, you were talking about earned income versus contributed income and showing a loss of revenue, and it seems to key on that. So with earned income, obviously most of us have very clearly experienced a loss of earned revenue, earned income. With contributed income, if you include the disaster relief funds, that may not be the case because of the large awards with PPP and shuttered venue. So in trying to choose which section to apply for, how should we consider the factors and how the ARPA, disaster relief funds play into it. Because if it's highly weighted on contributed income, we'd probably opt to apply for the other areas which are not as beneficial. So that's my question.
Thank you. That is a great question. So we encourage you to apply for both. And in the application, you will be required to fill out the negative financial impact section. So you will need to provide your financial, all that data for 2019 through 2022. During our review process and our grant calculations, we'll analyze the data that you provide, and that'll give us the numbers through the system. And if in the case that your organization does not qualify for the negative financial impact funding, that's when we'll jump over and look at the new or ongoing projects or programs. So we really encourage you all to apply for the new and ongoing projects, because that will provide more opportunity for more grant funding for you all.
They can also demonstrate that through the narrative, right? Like, Jennifer, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So that's why in the section that I covered, it's not just negative financial impact, it's negative impact. So if you lost staff, if you lost, you weren't able to pay artists, even though your revenue, your contributed income went up, if you can demonstrate an impact on your operations, then you would qualify, pending other things, the negative impact, not just negative financial impact, but negative impact.
Hello. I heard mention of a green button. Once we've put all of our support material in the Flex support area, do we get an email that it's finished, or just a green button? And I don't know what the green button is.
So Chancellor was referring to the verified status. So once your organization is verified, that means that we have reviewed your eligibility paperwork and information, and we deem that you are eligible to apply for this grant funding. And that's all that the button says. I am unaware if they get an email notification once that process happens, so I will definitely look into that, and we'll see if that's possible. But you can check the status of your eligibility verification anytime. If you log into the Flux grant system and go to your organization's page, it'll say the status. So if it's still working, it'll say pending eligibility review, and then if it's approved, then it'll say that you're verified. So you can always check the status through the grant portal. And you can call us.
It helps put me at ease a little bit, just thinking that I'm sure you're using all of this data, yes, to determine grant funding, but also to collect it in one place and be able to hold that information. So while it feels like a lot, at the same time, I know that this is a great opportunity to show that picture. Can you speak a little bit to that, and will there be access to that data after the fact, potentially?
Thank you. I'll try to repeat the question for the room there, but if you hold the button down. Oh, okay. So the question was, we are collecting a lot of data during this application period, and it's also going to be very beneficial to us as a arts sector as a whole in Oklahoma to have that data in one place, because we'll be able to provide stories and demonstrate impacts to the sector as a whole. The question was, will that data be available afterwards? And I don't have an answer to that right now. But again, we'll definitely keep you all in communication and let you know what we do with that data moving forward.
Yes, I wondered if there was any matching funds or requirements for matching funds attached to the ARPA grant.
There are no matching requirements to this grant.
If you're in a rural community, is there a limit on how many organizations can apply?
No, so one organization can submit one application and potentially receive one award, but we are not looking at caps to communities of how many organizations receive an award.
Are foundations that support schools or universities eligible to apply?
That is a special case situation where we encourage you to visit with our office through the information stations or the office hours, or just give us a call. Oh, Chandra has some.
I'll just share an example. Like, we know some university foundations support cultural institutions on campuses that serve the public. So if there are programs that are serving the general public, we can work with foundations, but it can't be programs that are supporting a student base, right? Because that's a closed group. So again, we want to kind of see what your organization's offering and make sure that that is publicly accessible programming.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I mean, the way all of you advocated for us to get these funds, and wow. And making it, you know, a low barrier application process. I just want to say thank you for that too. And I wanted to follow up on something that was mentioned in the webinar around kind of the allocation of the funds based on allied arts, Tulsa, rural communities. Could you expand on that?
That's a great question. So in partnership with, do you have a better response than I do, Chandra? Okay, I guess I'll take it. So in partnership with this Arts and ARPA coalition, I mean, we're reviewing all the applications at once, and so we're looking at the sector as a whole in determining the grant awards. So the table that you see in the grant guidelines of the approximate amount and the maximum amount, just stick to that as you're applying. Those are the numbers that we will initially go off of and see during our intake of the applications. But where you are at this time, it doesn't impact how much money you will be able to apply for. We're trying to look at the state as a whole to just hold up equity in this grant funding. All right, are there any other questions right now for the full group?
Rick Allen Lippert.
There's a mic coming for you.
See that rubric.
Can you say your question to the microphone behind you?
Oh. When might we see that rubric?
We are still developing a lot of information for this program, so we're work towards trying to get it on the website for you all to see before November 1st, or during the application period. We'll try to get it as soon as possible. We just thank you for your patience in all of this as well, because this is all new to us to administering this grant program. So we're trying to get things up and out to the public as fast as possible.
I just want to say for our Tulsa and surrounding areas of Tulsa, please, please, please feel free to reach out to Arts Alliance with questions. Anything we can't answer, we work hand in hand with this team here. But we've got to get all of our folks to apply. All of you, Oklahoma City, everywhere. Let's get those applications and eligibility in, because we want to get this money out. But we're here to answer your questions. I'm looking at some of my Tulsa people. So please get it in.
Also, in addition, again, thank you for your patience in the response time from our teams as well. In addition to this ARPA funding, we also all have our own regular grant programs going on. So it is a heavy lift, and it may take a little bit of extra time, but we're trying to get to your questions as soon as we can. All right. Well, if that's all the questions we have for the full group today, I'll hand it off to Jennifer to talk about.
Come see us at the information station.
You don't have a microphone. Do you want to talk about where that is?
Oh, okay. Come see us at the information station. We are ready and excited to answer your specific questions to your specific organization, and we are going to be right outside of this door here. Where you registered for the conference, that's where we'll be.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. And I'll talk about our office hours opportunities coming up. So if you have more questions, again, feel free to email us or give us a call. But we are holding some come and go office hours online through Zoom for you to ask your ARPA questions. What this will look like is you'll just join a Zoom room during these dates and times, and we'll take questions and we'll have conversations with you all. It'll be an open Zoom room group so that if there are others who are joining, they can get more insight and responses to their questions and just hear more from the sector too. So feel free to snap a photo of this. We'll also post this information on our website as well. We are looking forward to this time to connect with you all. And this is where you can ask your more detailed questions as well. So I'll just read off these times. Friday, October 20th, 11 to 12 p.m. Friday, October 27th, 10 to 11 a.m. Thursday, November 9th, 2 to 3 p.m., Monday, November 20th, after hours, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m., and the final opportunity is Thursday, November 30th, 9 to 10 a.m. So if you have questions about eligibility verification, there are only 2 office hours where you'll be able to have the opportunity to ask those questions during that time or send us an email. And then after that, the final 3 office hours, those will really be opportunities for application questions. And with that, I see another hand, but we can take your question at the information station afterwards. Thank you all so much. Before we end, I want to say thank you to our ARPA coalition, the people on the stage, and also our leadership and the board and the staff at Oklahoma Arts Council, Allied Arts OKC, and Arts Alliance Tulsa for all of their work in making this possible. It is a very heavy lift, and we're just so appreciative of everyone's time and dedication to make this program happen. And thank you to you all as well. We look forward to connecting with you, and thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your last day of the conference.